This is the Gen Y Leaders Podcast. Welcome to the Gen Y Leaders Podcast, where we guide millennials to become the next generation of business leaders and entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Eric Huey, and multiple times a month, we bring you interviews from high-performing millennials who are challenging perceptions and changing expectations of our generation. Our mission is to help you overcome fear, take action, and go confidently in the direction of your dreams. It's time to start preparing now, mainly because 10,000 baby boomers are retiring every day, which will create a vacuum of career opportunities that you've been waiting for. Will you be ready? John, welcome to the Gen Y Leaders Podcast.
Thank you for having me. I've been excited about this all week, man.
For sure. For viewers who don't know you, just tell them a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Sure. So my name is John, and I started a company late last year called SignBird. Mm-hmm. And what we do is we partner with U.S. out of home companies. And what out of home means to your listeners who may not be familiar with that industry, it's the billboard industry, billboard advertising. So a billboard you see on the side of an interstate, or overlooking a stoplight intersection, or a wallscape on the side of a building in downtown New York City. That is the out of home industry. And so I started SignBird because I noticed that there was a problem with getting high quality content, meaning photos and video, of billboards, that billboard companies just needed help to do that.
Yeah.
And I experienced that problem firsthand when I was working for a national billboard company. I was selling ad space on billboards all over the country and really enjoyed my job. But wherever I went, whatever market that I sold in, I saw that there was this consistent problem. And so where I feel like that's how most companies get started, is that there is a problem and someone says, you know what, I think I can solve that.
Exactly.
And
that's the definition of entrepreneurship.
Exactly. So
solving problems.
Yeah. So that's where we're at. We're a classic startup.
Yeah.
And we have a number of clients who have seen the value that SignBird is bringing. Since we launched, we're getting into other services as well. So I call us a marketing company. That's who we are. We do several different things for our clients, including web design, email marketing, logo design as well. So we're just kind of hitting it all. We're very niche specific. That's important.
For sure. Yeah. I can't wait to dive more into that. But real quick, before we forget, I'll always touch on the topic with all our guests of, what's your why? What keeps you motivated to do what you do? Aha, there we go.
My wife and son.
Beautiful.
My wife and son would have to be the main priority. Why I get up at the crack of dawn, not only to feed my son, but when he gets down for his nap, it's time for daddy to go to work. And so, I don't know if any of I'm sure some of your listeners are parents and they've experienced the craziness sleep schedule of raising a child. But you know what? It really just fit right into my work schedule anyway, being an entrepreneur and getting up. And I tell you what, it's great motivation to feed your son in the morning and say, all right, time to go work so I can pay for the formula and I can pay for the diapers. And so it just fits right into that. But I think also to answer that question another way would be, I think I have a passion for solving problems. Yeah. I have it. I've always had that drive to look around and to put some feelers out on what industries are not only profitable, but what problems are they experiencing on a daily basis, and can I position myself and an idea to solve that problem? So I think problem solving would also be my why, but 99% of it is my wife and son.
For sure.
1% is problem solving. And so I hope I have my priorities right on that.
Without a doubt.
I think about just our economy today, specifically in the job hiring. There are many people out there who over the last year, because of COVID, have either lost their jobs or been pushed aside for whatever reason by companies. And I think it speaks to just how fragile sometimes working for the man can be.
Yep.
And I prefer, it's my personality to work for myself. And I think I have discovered that over the last year, is to kind of have to be the captain of my own ship in a sense, as a business owner.
For sure.
What you put in is what you get out. And of course there are no guarantees. There weren't any necessarily guarantees when I worked for the large publicly traded company.
Sure.
There are no guarantees in life. Life is chaotic, whether you work for yourself or you work for an established company.
Exactly. Yeah. Just different kinds of pressure.
Just different kinds of pressure, man. I think I prefer working for myself. That's just me.
Likewise. Birds of a feather. No pun intended for SignBird.
Yeah. Oh man, the bird puns, they keep coming to me every other day. I love it. So that's good. Hey, if you want to just sneak in some more bird puns in this podcast, that'd be fantastic, because I'll just write them down and use them later.
Okay. So. Right on. I'll see what I can do. John, tell us about the moment that you just knew you had to go out on your own. Like, I'm sure you, like me, had the kind of like entrepreneurial thoughts or itch to scratch throughout your life, but what was that kind of last straw moment?
Sure. So not to get too specific, but I was a partner with a company who did several different things. And I had worked for years in out of home selling billboard ad space. And then I transitioned to another industry that I enjoyed, but I didn't have the passion that I had for billboard advertising. And I think when I had to first discover my passion, I had to discover what it was that I got really excited about. And once I left it, I really, really missed it.
Yeah.
And I worked for about a year at the company that I was a partner with. And over a year, I'm like, you know what? I just don't have the passion. I don't have the drive.
Yeah.
And so when I discovered that I didn't have the passion, it was time to make a change. And in the back of my mind, I had always had SignBird for my days spent in the billboard business. And I said, if not now, then when?
Yep.
I think most businesses, most startups, we talk ourselves out of starting them.
Yeah.
Because of fear or because of criticism. I'll tell you what, like I can find, not that I would, but I'm sure there are many critics of SignBird out there. I will listen to them, but I'm not going to let them affect my decisions. Right. I think of it more as constructive criticism, right? Like, hey, how can I improve my business because of the feedback that I'm getting from the market, so to speak. But to kind of go back to your question, when I lost my passion, I lost my drive. And so I had to get back to the passion. And so it's been great ever since, man.
For sure. Thanks for the bird's eye view of your origin story.
Perfect. All right. I'll get my pen and I'll write that down.
Right. John, you and I had previously discussed that the billboard industry, and you kind of alluded to it at the beginning of this conversation, that it seems like a somewhat of a dated industry, but I think you phrased it as a legacy industry as far as kind of a generational pass down of businesses and opportunities. Can you elaborate more on that?
Sure. So I can only explain my experience, right?
Sure. Can't we all?
My personal experience in the billboard industry, you see probably 2 or 3 types of billboard companies. You have your larger players, or your publicly traded companies like Lamar Advertising, Outfront, Clear Channel. Those would be your 3 very large companies that are in hundreds of markets all over the country. And then you have your small to mid-size operators. And I use the term operator as a billboard owner. It could also be said that they're an operator as well. They operate their business.
Yeah.
And so those small to mid-size operators, that's our sweet spot. That is who SignBird serves, because those small to mid-size operators, they might not have the team set in place, the technology set in place, the equipment, the just the resources to go take photos, to edit them, to create their own website, to host and maintain it, to, fly an aerial drone around and capture video clips of their billboard. That's our sweet spot. And so it goes back to, so typically those small to mid-size operators, it's a family business. It takes, at least from my observation, to get a billboard in the ground, you have to go, depending in your area or market, it takes an operator trial and error to try and get a billboard permit. I think, Eric, we talked about this for something that you've been trying to do, right?
Yep.
And you've experienced it, depending on the market and the local regulation of signs and billboards in specific municipalities and cities and states. You'd have to jump through a lot of hoops. And because of that, you have first-time operators who try to get into the billboard business and like, nah, this is too hard. I'm doing something else. And then you have the people who've been doing this for generations.
Yep.
So you see a lot of seniors and juniors and sons and daughters of billboard owners get into the business.
Yeah.
And so if you look at the bottom of a billboard, typically there's a name at the bottom. It's a logo, right? Depending on that last name, like, Eric, if you got in the billboard business, you might name your company Huey Outdoor, right? Huey Outdoor Advertising, Huey Billboard Company. Your name would be at the bottom of that billboard.
Yeah.
Same deal with some of these other billboard companies. It's the Lockridge Outdoor. It's the, Renfro Outdoor. Those are all of our clients, by the way.
Okay.
Family billboard companies. And what you find is a plethora of experience and knowledge by some of these billboard owners that they could go build billboards in their sleep. They're very good at it.
Yeah.
And it's taken them time and experience and failure and success to get these billboards in place. But once they're in the ground, man, it's a great business to be in, because it's hard. It's hard to get, and it's getting harder. You have some cities and areas of the country that are very anti-billboard. And then you also have some countries that, some areas of the country that are very open to billboard building and putting signs in the ground. So yeah, it is a legacy business, but it's good for SignBird because the folks who have been in the business see a need to get high quality content of the billboards that have taken them so long to get in the ground anyway.
Exactly.
And so they need to start investing in their investment, right?
Yep.
Like investing the time to market their investment.
For sure. Yeah. One of my favorite books, Unscripted by MJ DeMarco, talks about the SENSE acronym as far as filtering everything through. So it's CENTS. And the E in that is entry, or barrier for entry. So I think to your point there, the barrier for entry is high in the billboard industry because there are so many nuances. At least when I try to dabble in a little bit, it seemed like even with a city within the same county, they could have different nuances and regulations as far as like what's involved in the city versus what's involved in the county, or allowed rather. All the time and management that goes into switching out actual billboards, staffing people to switch out the signs, all that stuff. So I definitely agree that it's wise for people who are in the industry to try to pass that along and within the family and keep it alive, because that's a great investment.
Out of the, and absolutely, man. And I was reading a very popular, there are several different niche publications for the out-of-home industry. The most recent article I read about the amount of billboard companies in the United States. Just for some of your listeners, think about all of the country, right? All of the different markets, top 50 DMAs in the country. I think they're estimating somewhere around, I think it was like 800 or 700 billboard companies.
Wow.
And that's really low. That is crazy low. And I think that to discern that number it is a, hard industry to get into.
Yeah.
But it's very niche. And that's what is very valuable about SignBird is we serve a very specific industry. And, some would be afraid. I'm more encouraged because it is such a small industry. That's a small community and it really is a community of billboard ownership that, I could cold call if I really wanted to. I could cold call 800 businesses, maybe a week.
Yeah.
depending on how quick my fingers are, right? To dial. That's encouraging.
Sure.
So anyway, something to think about.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned family ties, and on this topic, I just thought I'd ask you quick. Do you yourself have any family ties to the billboard industry? No. Hey, that's all right.
I have a mentor who I'm very close to, who's been in the business for 40 years.
Yeah.
Who I look upon as family, our relationship.
Yeah.
But other than that, my father was not in the billboard business. My grandfather was not in the billboard business. I don't have any family ties. I have just been bit by this bug and I cannot get out of my system. I will say though, my time spent at the large billboard company that I was working for, I had some amazing mentors.
John, what other techniques are you using? You mentioned drone footage, so of course, photography and video, but what other types of techniques are you using to help these companies market themselves?
Sure. So the clients and prospects that we speak to, I always explain SignBird and position us as a marketing engine for these companies. And why that's important is because most of these small to mid-sized billboard operators don't have the teams or resources in place to execute some of these services that we offer. Specifically, we do logo design and brand strategy for our clients. We're getting ready to launch a new brand for a company out of East Tennessee.
Very cool.
And we've been working on that project for about 6 weeks now. And we're almost they're almost going to give us their stamp of approval. If not, we'll get back to the drawing board and keep working for them. And it's important whenever, just like you launch any company, to make sure that you're creating a message, you're creating an experience with the brand. And it should be no different in billboard advertising. We want their billboard structures to stand out from the competition. Instead of naming their billboard company Sign Company LLC, I think it can be a little bit more creative and a little bit more, I dare say, modern.
Yeah.
So we do that as well. We do, of course, photography. We do videography. We do design work. If they're needing any sort of marketing materials designed, such as sell sheets, ride sheets, to help them sell billboard, give it to their salespeople, say, hey, take this PDF document and walk into 10 businesses today.
Yeah.
It's more like a leave behind.
Gotcha.
Mark material. We do email marketing, which is great, especially when you own a billboard company and you only have 3 employees,
right?
1 sales rep, 1, assistant, and then 1 owner. They may not have the resources, the time, or the people to contact and stay in contact with their prospects, with their clients. And so email marketing, right now we're working with a company that they want to send out really just an update on where their company's at. If they've built a new billboard location, they want to send out that location to every advertiser they have in their database. And so we help them with that. We do aerial drone services, web design, which is huge.
Sure.
I think if you're going to go to all this trouble to invest in content, but you have nowhere to put it, it's like walking with, weights on your legs, right? Like it's not getting the whole job done. So we do web design as well. And then I think I mentioned earlier, right now we're doing some sales consulting right now for a company, helping their sales team.
Yeah. That's great, man.
Man, we are cooking with gas, very niche specific, man.
John, tell us a little bit about your vision and where you hope to be, maybe 5 years from now, 10, 15, whatever your vision is.
It's so important to have a game plan, man. It's so important to have a vision for your business. And for SignBird specifically, I would like for SignBird to have a project completed in every top 50 DMA in the country. That would be a huge milestone for us. And we're quickly getting there. I think right now I would have to go down my list. New York, Chicago, at least 15 states we've been in so far.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Right place, right time, man. And, and so that would be a great milestone. Second would be for SignBird to expand into other services that I think the out-of-home industry desperately needs.
Yeah.
I'll leave that in my back pocket though, because I got to keep that confidential.
Sure.
But there's always, the way I see it, if you're not trying to improve your process, someone else is. And SignBird is, in my opinion, one of the first to the party of seeing a need for this industry. It's such a small community-based industry. It's hard for outsiders to see. If you haven't been in the industry, it's hard for outsiders to see there's an opportunity there. So because of our experience, because of our insider information, so to speak, we're uniquely positioned to serve our clients. A lot of my clients, they won't pick up the phone if you haven't sold a billboard before. Wow. Because they're saying, you don't know my problems.
Sure.
You've never sat in my shoes. How am I supposed to hire a company that has never sold a billboard before?
Yeah.
Well, I raise my hand and I say, hey, I spent 5 years selling out of home all over the country. Like I can speak your language. Okay, John, let me hear. All right, I'll give you 5 minutes, man.
Sure.
So, to expand on that, offering different services for SignBird, but also from a business ownership perspective, I would love to start working on my business instead of in my business.
Yep.
More of a business development sort of role. I think I mentioned earlier, we're starting to hire interns. I have a few full-time positions that I'm throwing around that I think are necessary for SignBird to have success and scale in the right way. And so if any of your listeners, if they're listening to this podcast and seeing me talk a bunch and they want to know more about SignBird, please reach out to me, because I would love to get to know them and see if they want to become part of the team in any capacity. So yeah, man, just your basic startup goals,
Sure. Definitely. That's exciting. On that note, where can people best contact you if they are interested in learning more, or connecting with you?
So my email would be perfect. Comes directly to me. That would be, excuse me for coughing so much. That'd be John, JOHN at signbird.io. You can go to our website, www.signbird.io. We're in the process of actually updating our website, but the domain's the same. And so that's the best way to get in contact with us. And of course, LinkedIn. We're really heavy on LinkedIn. And so, because that's where our prospects are. So
definitely. Yeah. LinkedIn's a huge tool for me as well. And I think
that's how you and I got connected, Eric.
Exactly. I think I spend like 80% of my day on LinkedIn. John, last question before we wrap up here. What books or resources, it could be entrepreneurship and business, could be personal development, whatever. What books or resources would you recommend to our viewers?
Oh man. I love John Steinbeck. I will read his books over and over, but we can talk about that at a later date. I think more like a quick, valuable book to share would be this one right here. I brought it in my office today.
Nice.
The $100 Startup.
Okay.
it's this guy, Chris, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name. You read that?
I want to say gullible, but that doesn't look right.
either. I don't know. This book was handed to me actually by my brother when I started SignBird. It's a great book. What it does, it talks about this book would be perfect for like young entrepreneurs. I'm talking like 18 years old.
Yeah.
They want to start a business instead of going to college, or they want to start a business to save up for college, or they just got out of college and they had their first job at a big corporation and they're miserable and they're looking for I wouldn't say quick way.
Yeah.
They're looking for a meaningful way to start a business. And this guy, he talks about, there's certain key things that you need in any business. And one would be, you got to find your passion. You need to have the skills, and you need to have customers. And he breaks it down as simply as that. You need passion, you need skills, and you need customers. And you can do it in a lean way. And the $100 startup talks about that. And it tells you story after story, and it helps you get inspired to do these things. And you learn about these people who started with absolutely nothing. And you're reading about them, you're learning about what they did to get through the hardships to start their own business. And so I think that's the best advice any entrepreneur can give to another entrepreneur is not necessarily, here are the 5 steps to start a business.
Right.
It's more like starting a business is very hard.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
And if you do not have the passion, it's not going to work.
Right.
And I think that's the best real advice I could give anyone is like, it's going to be very difficult. And you're going to get a lot of no's, and people, especially I love the movie Moneyball. Have you ever seen that movie? I'm a big, we talk about this. We're baseball guys, right?
Yeah.
The main character there, Brad Pitt, he has a nice little quote. I don't know if it was Brad Pitt, but somebody was talking to Brad Pitt. And I just remember this quote. It said, the first one through the wall is the bloodiest.
Yep.
And what the Athletics were trying to do was to change the way they evaluate teams and evaluate players instead of the good old boy system of saying, well, he looks good in a uniform, he can play baseball, or right. He only eats steak for dinner, he's a great baseball player. It's more like, no, let's be very analytical about this, and let's look at the numbers. And instead of going to get out, instead of going to recruit, the franchise player, let's recruit 3 maybe okay players, but their combined stats equal, the great player. So anyway, the reason I bring that all up is because the first one, that quote I think stands true. The first one through the wall. If you're the first one to the party, first one trying to accomplish something that's never been done before, you're probably going to get the bloodiest.
Yep.
Because you're a pioneer. You're discovering things for the first time, and it's okay. It's okay to get a little bloody and bruised up.
Yep.
So that would be the best advice I could give someone is don't be afraid to run through the wall and if the passion is there, I think you're going to be just fine.
Great advice to leave us with. John, thanks so much for your time on the Gen Y Leaders podcast. I'm going to go back to the nest and regroup, read some of those books, and go watch Moneyball. But John, thanks so much for your time, and good luck to you in your business, brother.
Thanks, Eric.
That wraps up today's episode. We hope to have brought you some valuable key takeaways. Most importantly, whatever you learned, take action on it. Apply it to your life. Apply it to your career. Motivation and inspiration only come as a result of taking that first step. So if you're enjoying the podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe on whichever platform you found the show. You can also follow us on all the major social media platforms or contact us directly at genwhyleaders@gmail.com. That's GENWHY leaders@gmail.com. Until next time, I'm Eric Huey, and thanks for listening to the Gen Y Leaders Podcast.